Here's a quick quiz for all you out there. Let's see if you can name the best quarterback in the state. How about the best quarterback in the Mid-American Conference? The correct answer, Central Michigan's Dan Lefevre. For 3 years now, defenses have had no answers to stopping the Illinois native, as Lefevre has been the catalyst for one of the country's most potent offenses. He's also been one of the most talked about players in the country. Scott Rex, a CMU football contact.
Particularly the week of the Georgia game, we had a lot of interest from the national media. ESPN.com was in town for a couple days, followed him around, did a big feature piece. He's made some appearances on ESPN and done live chats on ESPN.com and things like that. So it all really kind of depends on the week and how much interest there is from the opponent's media as well.
Number 13 of the Chippewas has become a media darling ever since becoming just the second player in Division I football bowl subdivision history to pass for over 3,000 yards and over 1,000 rushing yards in a single season. The 2007 MAC Offensive Player of the Year is quick to deflect any personal achievements his way, even after ESPN's chief NFL draft scout, Todd McShay, came away impressed with Lefevre.
Anytime that people at the next level recognize what you do, that's obviously a great thing, not only for you but for the program. So obviously we're doing some good things, but our workout isn't done, and it's not something to hang your head on, because there's still more that we have to do, and we have a lot more to accomplish.
Lefevre can play his position as well, if not better, than anyone in the country. That might be why, prior to the football year, Lefevre was placed on a huge billboard outside of Comerica Park, advertising not only CMU football, but the university.
It's definitely an honor to be picked by the university, kind of to represent the university. So, it's definitely an honor. But when you see it in person, for especially that first time, it was definitely a little bit weird. I was looking around to see if anyone was recognized me or not, and I was just in my car by myself, so I don't think so.
But Dan Lefevre never expected the spotlight, because this was supposed to be fellow quarterback Brian Brunner's show. If not for Brunner's injury in Lefevre's first game, the dual threat quarterback most likely would not have been playing.
What was going through my mind? Not much, just because I was kind of thrown into the mix, in that play, so, once I came off the field and had some more time to think about it, I think that's when kind of the jitters kind of sunk in and things like that. But I kind of had to earn it from there, because going into that game, Coach Kelly talked about how the three of us, Dwayne, Brooks, Brian Brunner and I, would get some time going into that game, but he kind of wanted to feel the situation out and see what was going to happen.
It was back in 2006 that one of Lefevre's playing mates, left tackle Joe Staley, got national praise and ultimately became the school's first ever first-round draft pick when he was selected by the San Francisco 49ers, and thus creating an atmosphere Lefevre expands upon today.
This program hadn't had some success for a few years, so anytime you get team success, that helps any individual, so I think having the team success helped Joe, but obviously Joe having that individual success had helped the team as well, so I think it kind of went both ways.
Lefevre has become quite an icon, not only for Central Michigan University, but for the entire Mid-American Conference. It certainly keeps Scott Rex occupied.
It's a great problem to have, and Dan handles it so well, and he's such a great kid to work with, and he's able to keep everything in perspective, and I feel like I have a good enough relationship with Dan that he's willing to tell me if it's getting to be too much or anything like that.
The well-spoken Chippewa captain never has to worry about bulletin board material, but understand what comes with that territory.
Well, I think you always got to be careful of that, no matter what position you're in, whether you're a successful program or not. But does the media help the program? I think it does help us get exposure, but at the same time, it definitely adds some pressure too. When you win, you got to win more.
As Detroit Free Press columnist Drew Sharp put it, Michigan State would feel more comfortable with him, and Michigan would flat out kill for him. Now, I don't know about Michigan and Michigan State, but Chippewa fans can go to sleep at night a little easier knowing the state's best signal caller dons the Maroon and Gold. For Maroon and Gold Magazine, I'm Phil Byrne. Central Michigan Athletics embrace a championship culture and atmosphere today. All across the board, you can find first-team All-Mid-American Conference athletes or scholar athletes unparalleled at any other university. A vital part of Chippewa athletics history can be found at two historic landmarks on campus, Finch Fieldhouse and Rose Arena. But in upcoming years, CMU Athletics and Central Michigan University will be getting a big facelift when Rose Arena will be renovated to give way to Central Michigan's to-be-named Event Center.
Well, we're going to renovate the entire arena, so you'll have a brand new arena inside the four walls as it exists today. But we'll also be expanding and adding a practice facility for our court sport teams that'll give a lot of flexibility to the arena, as well as a new atrium, 10,000 square foot atrium, ticket center, historical area for our athletic programs to really highlight the great performances, and those athletes, who some of them are with us today, will be highlighted in that area. So really be a transformation of the entire Rose Arena.
While CMU Athletics stressed to incoming student athletes that becoming a Chippewa is like joining a second family, for two members of the Rose and Finch teams, family is just what they are. Karen Carter Mahalik and her son Wynn Mahalik are on the respective All-Rose and Finch teams, with Carter Mahalik being a two-sport star in track and field and basketball. Her son Wynn was a wrestling prodigy, putting together an impressive campaign that just ended last spring with Mahalik's graduation.
Both honors were important to us. I mean, obviously being part of that team, but it's nice to share it with him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, it's great to be considered for the All-Rose team, considering I just finished my career, and to have my mom on it is equally as just a great feeling to be included with her.
Looking at these Hall of Famers, you're reminded of how much dedication CMU student athletes have to put in. After all, it's the championship culture these athletes have put in previous years that have paved the way for the championship culture that CMU student athletes enjoy today. In essence, it's what becoming a Chippewa is all about. Introducing your Central Michigan Athletics Hall of Fame class of 2008. Ralph Darren, baseball, 1969 to 72. Laurel Farrell Page, field hockey, 1988 to 91. Harry Richards, wrestling, 1984 to 87. Billy Smith, football, 1988 to 91. Jeff Trofe, men's basketball, 1977 to 79. And Karen Wongstrom, softball, 1984 to 87. Laurel Farrell Page played field hockey from 1988 to 1991, but the Virginia native fought off a cold winter on a recruiting trip to help lead the women's field hockey to a MAC championship.
Winning the MAC championship was a huge memory and a great success for our team back then.
Jeff Trofe led the CMU men's basketball to 2 MAC championships in 1977 and 1979. The Holt, Michigan native's successful career at Rose Arena culminated with being drafted by the NBA's Portland Trail Blazers. Trofe on being named at the Hall of Fame and his unusual path in becoming a Chippewa.
I made a long drive. I got up to go to class one day and took about a 300-mile detour and ended up in Mount Pleasant. I sat in the parking lot forever at Rose. I finally got up enough nerve and I went in and talked with Coach Parfit. And I just simply, if I could transfer to CMU, all I wanted was a tryout. You know, you're talking the legends of the legends during the Parfit era, and Poquette, and McElroy, and all of these guys, and Grouser. And to even be able to play with them was an honor, let alone be named now alongside of them. I don't even know what to say.
If there's an athlete who deserves to be in the CMU Athletics Hall of Fame just based on overcoming adversity, it's former wrestler Harry Richards. Richards was born with bilateral club feet, but that made him work harder and work towards a career winning percentage of .754 and qualify for 2 NCAA tournaments.
Yeah, back then nobody really, it wasn't a known fact. You just had to overcome it. You had to, back then it was a little bit different. Things weren't known in the press, so there was really nothing written about my feet. And but I used that kind of as a stepping stone and made me more mentally tough, I think. It just made me more determined to succeed.
Billy Smith, a CMU running back from 88 to 91, was the true epitome of being a workhorse and hard worker. Smith's work in 1991 set the school's single-season record for most rushing attempts in one season at an astonishing 374. But what sets Smith's resume apart from most other CMU running backs was one particular game back in 1991.
Well, that's a great memory. The funny thing is that people still remember that game and they recognize me from it. So I was always a kick to bump into people that remember that game.
Let's just hope future Chippewa student athletes can live on with the expectations preceded by a championship culture, because after all, a championship culture breeds expectations. For Maroon and Gold Magazine, I'm Phil Byrne.
Here in the inner workings of the Chippewa football locker room, there are a lot of equipment needs, and it takes one man to pull them all together.
And that man is Mike McPike, and our own Phil Byrne got to take a behind-the-scenes look at what exactly goes on.
In an early 90s Nike commercial, Spike Lee proclaimed, "It must be the shoes." Well, for one man and his student managers, they're able to get the Chippewas to look as good as this and to ensure their safety. Hey college grad, get a load of this job's requirements. Must work long hours, communicate between football players and coaches, prep equipment for games and practices, and yes, even laundry skills are required. One man answers the calling of this job and deals with the requirements on a daily basis for CMU, and that man is Michael McPike. McPike is not a former player, a trainer, or even a member of the CMU coaching staff. Rather, McPike is Central Michigan University's coordinator of equipment operations. He is as important to the success of the CMU football program as anyone you'll meet. Without him, the team cannot function properly. His role is to look out for the safety of the Chippewas on the field, in practice, and to assist anyone on the team anytime they need a helping hand. McPike on what his daily schedule might look like.
Day-to-day operations, every morning I go ahead, I'm checking out to make sure what was done the night before, because we got to make sure we get all the laundry done for every game. And then we got a staff meeting that I have to attend to find out what our practice schedule is, what our coaches' needs are for practice equipment, implements, stuff like that. Make sure that I know what's happening when it comes down to that game for that week, if it's at home or on the road.
Anytime the Chippewas have a road game, McPike is making sure everything from jerseys, helmets, and pants are accessible for the players, to ensuring the team feels comfortable in their surroundings and hostile climates by supplying the team with porta-cools, devices that give Chippewa athletes a cool breeze in hot weather, to games in the colder months that finds McPike setting up portable heaters. But like the core values of any team, one person cannot do it alone. Michael McPike is assisted by a group of student managers who have a variety of roles to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible.
The student managers, they're the biggest part of their thing is, and being part of this team, is helping me out when it comes down to practices. And they get here about an hour early. They're setting up all the dummies, so I don't have to worry about it. I could take and focus on the team when the team's coming in. They get everything and run the practices, work with the coaching staff, and help them out with anything they need. If it's cones, if it's agiles, dummies, footballs, those guys are there. I can't do my job without their help. I think my hours would have been quite a bit longer if I didn't have their help at all. So, and it's one of those things that I hope that you know, they understand how much I appreciate their help.
Hold the rope, baby. Hold it.
A graduate of Virginia Tech, McPike has a deep passion for what he does. Although the hours can be long, the work tedious, and the never-ending phone calls and requests downright obnoxious, McPike thinks the pros outweigh the cons by a long shot.
The biggest thing when I got started at being an equipment manager, and this is just as a student getting a chance to be with a team and doing it on a volunteer basis, is knowing that, you know what, you're a part of a team. And your biggest aspect of doing anything is helping these kids out. And I know that since I've been here, it's been making sure that I get that taken care of. I know that thanks to 1100 Club, Coach Jones has allowed me to get more stuff for the kids when we needed it, and that's been a big deal for me. You know, the 1100 Club members and even Chippewa Club members, and what they give to the football program is a big deal. It might not be everything for me, but it helps out tremendously in showing that our kids get the best equipment, protection-wise, and also get the best apparel that's available to them. So it's just one of those things that everything's for the kids. I mean, that's what I'm supposed to be here for.
In the 80s, the Ghostbusters answered the call for those in need. Today, Michael McPike and his crew of student managers give to CMU nothing short of a superhero effort anywhere you find the Flying C logo. For Maroon and Gold Magazine, I'm Phil Byrne.